afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Crystal from the NCBFAA Membership Department, and I'd like to take the time to thank you for joining today's presentation, which provides an overview of this exciting new membership benefit, the NCBFAA Comply Directory. At this time, I would like to introduce Paulette Kova, our NCBFAA Export Compliance Subcommittee Chair.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. With us today, we have Greg Borgeson and Tom Outwin from XWorks Remote Control. Both Greg and Tom have a freight forwarding background, and so they have a deep understanding of the requirements of freight forwarders. So as these products were developed, they were developed specifically with freight forwarders and brokers in mind. So I want to welcome both Greg and Tom. They will be participating in the presentation. At the end, Greg is going to give you an actual walkthrough of the live system. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. So I wanted to first introduce the issue that gives rise to why NCBFAA has decided to offer this great tool to our regular members. The freight forwarders and customs brokers, as freight forwarders and customs brokers, we hire truckers as part of our normal day-to-day work. We hire cartage companies, we hire drayage companies, and we don't really think too much about what would happen if the trucker was in an accident. Are we liable for damages that result from accidents that the independently owned trucker is involved with? You might think no, but in fact, C.H. Robinson was hit with this $23.7 million judgment after a truck driver was involved in a fatal accident. And that decision was held up in the courts. And secondly, to complicate things, there is a law moving ahead for progress in the 21st century, which most of us know as MAP 21, that complicates this issue because it has an unclear terminology. Despite efforts to clarify this, the NCBFAA has gone to the FMCSA to voice our opinion on what this is. But the issue is that MAP 21 applies to property brokers, inland domestic freight forwarders in particular. But they use the word broker loosely. And so there is an interpretation out there that this could also apply to customs brokers that issue delivery orders. NCBFAA doesn't feel that that's correct, and we have voiced that to FMCSA, but they haven't given a clear ruling on whether or not these rules would apply to brokers as well. And therefore, most of us are not holding out to wait and see what happens, but taking this as if it does apply to us so that we can take the proper precautions. So there's also legislation out there now that says that if you perform due diligence in hiring your truckers, this can substantially mitigate the penalties or the fines or the lawsuits that might come to the freight forwarders. So the bottom line is, as Greg says, it's a new world. If we're not actually looking at our truckers, vetting our truckers to make sure they have good safety records, that they're actually authorized to perform trucking services, we could be at risk of lawsuit. And that's why NCBFAA has taken this extraordinary step to offer this tool at no cost to our regular members to be able to really help us all out. So recognizing that risk, this is free access through the NCBFAA website to our regular members. And not only does it handle the vetting process of truckers, but also the TSA requirements. It's easy to use. Many of our members are already regular users of the NCBFAA Comply Directory, using it to vet their truckers. And you can see here some of the comments that some of our members have made that have been using it. The members are small, medium, and large companies. There is a benefit to everybody to be able to go in and vet the truckers. We all know that in our day-to-day business, no matter what the size of our company, There's a great cost in time and money to be able to go through this process of vetting truckers. And I think you'll see when we show you the screens today that this is a very simple product to use. And here we've just listed, since July, this went live at the end of June, and since July we have over 70 active NCBFAA members using the system regularly. So this directory, I'm going to skip down a little bit here and talk about the access. What you'll be able to do, what you are able to do in this system is verify the trucker's operating authority. Are they authorized by the government to operate? Check their insurance status. Do they have insurance, and can you access the insurance certificates? Safety records. This will take you right into the Department of Transportation's safety records so that you can vet the trucker to see what their safety record is. And the thing that you have to think about here is if there are easy ways to actually check and vet your truckers, if you're not doing it, you could be held liable just because there's easy ways for you to do it. You can see the TSA driving records and also supporting documentation for these. So how does the system work? Really quite simple. You'd start out by searching for your trucker. You click on the Truckers tab that we show here in the top left-hand corner. And then you can search the trucker by various means, by their name, by their branch, their station, by the city or by the state. Right now there's over 6,000 cartage and drayage company locations listed in this product, in the remote control product. And these truckers are by invitation only. They are the air, drayage, and intermodal truckers that freight forwarders actually use. It's not the complete Department of Transportation database, but rather truckers that freight forwarders and brokers have invited to be part of this product. Greg, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's we think the invitation only is a key element of this. We don't, first of all, we don't charge the truckers anything, but secondly, we don't allow them to just write us and say, hey, can you put us in the directory? Every single trucker here has been invited by a freight forwarder who does business with them. So while that isn't vetting per se, at least it gives you a subpopulation of trucking companies that serve our industry who understand the special needs of the air and sea freight forwarders. And it's growing all the time. We have over 6,000 locations. It's over 3,000 companies. And several more are invited every week by the forwarders who use the system. And as some of your companies join the system and you find a trucker that you don't do business with right now, it's very easy to invite them, and we'll take care of getting them and their information into the system.
And I just brought up that slide now so that you can see. You just click on this tab, Invite Your Trucker. And once you do that, the staff at XWorks Remote Control, they reach out to the truckers to get them on board. As Greg said, there's no charge to the trucker. To get them on board, to gather their insurance certificates, to gather the information that we need here. So it's simple for you to just use the system itself to invite the trucker to participate. Now, the system itself works on, it's a kind of a dashboard here, but it's a red, yellow, green light, mostly red and green. And this just gives you an idea. If there's information that's not complete, so the truckers maybe haven't uploaded or information has expired, you'll be able to see that at a glance by seeing that the tabs are red, maybe missing information. So you should know that the staff at XWorks at Remote Control, they are following up with truckers to gather this information. But I've also pointed out here a prompt trucker to update tab. And if you look at that, you would just be able to click on that, and we're going to see that throughout as we go through the different tabs. You just click on that, and it's going to create an email to go to your trucker because it carries a lot more weight. You being the customer of that trucker, to tell them that it's important to you that they actually update the information in XWorks. So that's on top of the fact that the staff at XWorks is already reaching out to them. So now to go through the various tabs, the first tab is the Authority tab. This is where you can go in to see the trucker's authorization. So you would first click on authority, and then you would click to view the documents. Now you can see, because the tab's green, that the documents are there and up to date. And if you click on these two links, you would see the actual documents right from the government's website, and you would be able to print those out if you felt the need to, or as part of your record keeping to prove that you did your due diligence. The next tab, which I think is really important to all of us, is the insurance certificate tab. And as you can see, there are 4 different insurance certificates listed: general liability, automobile liability, etc. And you would click on each one of those and be able to see the insurance certificate that they have posted. This is an example of one where the insurance certificates might not be up to date. So if you click on your trucker and then you click on these tabs and you see that the insurance certificate is red, this would be, again, an opportunity for you to reach out to the trucker directly and say, you need to update your insurance certificates here. And as I said, XWorks is out following up with these truckers all the time, but sometimes they need extra prompt from their customers. Greg, is there anything you'd like to say here?
No, it's a major task, of course, to manage this. We have over 3,000 trucking companies. Each of them has 4 certificates. They all expire every year. So there's a lot of exchange of emails and nudging with the truckers. So the more you push that button, it'll take you about 10 seconds. And I'm going to show you when we do the demo how quick it is. The more up-to-date the information will be for you and for all the users of the system.
On the TSA Compliance, you may be using some other software, some other means to be able to get the information that you need for TSA, but this comes along with the NCBFAA Comply Directory product. So you're able to also go in here and be able to pull up the TSA employee records and that type of thing. Greg, do you have something you'd like to add here?
Yeah, this is a really important tab. If you're doing air freight pickups, then you're an AR, and that means you've got a lot of administrative work with the TSA. Either you're gathering all these spreadsheets every month yourself from the truckers and trying to follow up with them and reformat it into upload-ready sheets, or you're using a service like XWorks has a service like this, or Root or Cargo Factor, who charge a fair amount of money for doing that, preparing all that work for you. But it's all here built into the NCBFAA Comply Directory. If you click on the TSA tab, it'll show you when they last reported. It'll show you what percentage of them have current training, who the TSA contact is for that trucking company with the email link. And then you can click and you'll get a PDF that'll pop up showing you all the training records of all their drivers as they've reported it. And if you click here, you get a file ready for upload. It's all you have to do is copy it or save it rather, and upload it into the IACMS, and you're ready to go. So it's essentially the similar service to what people charge for, including XWorks, but it's here for you free from the NCBFAA. And it's a very extensive database. We have over 70,000 individual driver records.
And again, if you click on here and find that the information is not complete, that prompt is there again to create the system-generated email to your trucker to ask them, to update information. Now the next tab is the safety record. So obviously this is very key in vetting your trucker for the purposes that we're talking about, to reduce the liability that you have in the selection of truckers should they have an accident. So this takes you right in to the government's website with the trucking records of the individual trucker. So the trucker that you're looking at the time, you would be able again to click on the various tabs at the bottom and bring up a copy of the safety records. Then we have the policy. Now this is a unique program with XWorks. The truckers are required to complete a questionnaire about their policies and practices. These questionnaires were prepared by trade attorneys. So the questions represent information that that's very important to freight forwarders and customs brokers. So you can view the answers to the questions as an additional check to see if they're appropriate for the trucker that you want to you're trying to hire to handle your business. Greg, I think you have something additional to say here.
Yeah, the policy checklist is something you probably don't want to spend a lot of time reading because it's long. It's 85 questions with yes/no answers, but it's there in case you have an issue. And what the trucker does is declare what his policies are, his or her policies are. Things like, do you drug test your driver? Does the driver lock the truck if he's more than 10 yards away? It's those kind of questions. And they've all been developed, as Paulette said, by attorneys who have been dealing with claims and court cases between forwarders and trucking companies over the years. And it attempts really just to clarify exactly what the trucking company says they do as a matter of policy on all these different issues. So it's there really as a backup for you. If you need it, you can go through and read them all, or you can see what their overall score is. We show the percentage of questions with the desired response. And it's just another element you can use in your vetting process, and if you ever have a problem with the trucker, it's another thing that you can use to support your case in a claim or a court case.
Thank you, Greg. And then lastly, we have the company, station, and fleet tabs. On these tabs, you can find additional information about truckers, whether they're truckers you're using already or interested in using, some basic information about, addresses, their locations, individuals, and also under the company tab, if they have posted hazmat certificates, W-9s, and that type of thing, you would also be able to find those there. And Greg, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that.
It's probably easiest just to show you that when we do the demo.
So how do you access this information? As long as you're a regular member of NCBFAA, every regular member has a main contact. That main contact already has a user ID. So they would be able to click, it's right on the home page that I'll show you in just a minute, and they would be able to click on that and go in and register, and then be able to set up additional users. The link on the NCBFAA homepage is right here, right on the front page, and all you have to do is click on that. So you just need to identify who within your company is the main contact for NCBFAA and have them go in and start this process for you. And then any number of individuals in your companies can take advantage of going in and using the product. Once you're in, get the username and password set up, and you would just check off this disclaimer box, and then then you're in. And then you would go through the process of checking the truckers and the various tabs we were just looking at.
Just a quick comment there, Paula. We've set up everyone who has a login and password to the NCBFAA, not only the main user, but the others, already have logins and passwords set up. It's the same login and password you use to get into the NCBFAA website. So just to make it easy, if you've got a login right now, you can use it right here and just put it in, and you'll be in and using the system.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying, Greg. So that's really it for how the system works. So what we want to do now is to be able to hand this over to Greg, and he's going to take you actually into the live system and go through these same screens, but we wanted to show you first just to give you an idea of how each one of them worked, and now Greg will take you in to the actual live system, and I will, if I'm having a better technical day than I was earlier, I will get you over to Greg in just a second. Do you have that?
Well, hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, so this is, we're logged into the NCBFAA Comply directory, and we're on the trucker tab. And just to show you how it works, you can search by a trucker name. So you can put in the first few letters, it'll show you these are all Accelerated offices. Or you can search by a station. You put in, for instance, Memphis. It'll show you all the truckers that have locations and provide service in Memphis in the system. You can see there's 78 of them just in Memphis. Or you can look by you can look by city or by state. So if we look in North Carolina, it'll show you there are 169 trucking companies with locations in North Carolina, some of them with multiple locations. So very easy to find a trucking company. You can look by their name, by the city, by the state, by the station. So when you click on a trucking company, it's going to show you in the top here the contacts in that location. We're looking at the Los Angeles location of 2XL. Here's the San Francisco location. So these are the phone numbers and the names over here. And then over here are all the tabs that Paulette was showing you. So the first tab is the operating authority. And it's green because there is data available. It shows you their SCAT code, their DOT number, their MC number. And if I click here, it's going to take you right to the right to the DOT's website, and you can see what their operating authority is, contract. And if you click here, it's going to take you to any document they've provided that has their DOT number on it. The next tab is the search tab. This is where you typically find insurance certificates. And they do have insurance certificates here, but you'll see the tab is red. And it's red, and red indicates that some certificates are expiring or missing. And you can see these certificates expired just a couple days ago. So if you click, you'll still be able to see the certificate, but in its typical Accord certificate. But the certificates are expired. So we were talking about this, but this is one of the most important parts of the program. If you see something like this, here's a trucker who didn't remember to update a few days ago. When you click here, it's going to open up an email, and it's as simple as this. It'll open up an email in your system. It goes to the proper contact at the trucker, and it'll have your name, your login name down here, and your company name. And just push send, and that's all you have to do. And that trucker has now been prompted to politely, from you saying you're a user of the system, and please update your insurance certificates, and it gives them directions on how to do that. So very simple. And if you see anything red and it's a trucker that you use, just click that button, and that's going to make sure that next time you go in there, hopefully the insurance certificates will all be up to date. So here is the TSA tab, and it tells you that this trucker reported on August 31st with new data. 100% of their drivers have current training. When you click here, you'll get a manifest of all of their drivers. So here's for 2XL. To fit a little better. So it shows you for each one the STA number, the date that their STA expires, their training type, the training date, the training score for each driver. Sometimes it has the original training date and score. If they have inspection station screening, it'll show that as well. So for every trucker in here that has TSA data, you'll see all that the training record. And then when you need to associate this trucker in the IACMS, you simply click here. It's going to open up a text file. And that text file is structured exactly the way the TSA wants it. You can simply take that file and upload it into the IACMS, and you're done. So this is the functionality that either people have to spend a lot of time organizing themselves, or they have to pay somebody like Verut or XWorks or Cargo Factor to have that information organized for them. So this is a huge benefit right here. Here's the safety tab, and again, you just click and it's going to take you to the up-to-the-minute safety ratings in the FMCSA. It also has the SAFER system. And this is the policy checklist, that long list of questions done by the attorneys. So that's there if you need that. And that's really the vetting aspect of these first 5 tabs. The other tabs are really more operational. It'll show you the fleet. So this is what the trucker says they have available in this location. And it's broken down into what they own, what they lease, and what they subcontract. So they have 2 48-foot tractor trailers, 6 53-foot, and so forth. So that can be very helpful operationally if you're looking for a trucker that has a flatbed or reefer or whatever. You can check ahead of time and see if they say they have it there. The station tab has operational information about this location. It'll tell you their address, their phone numbers, fax numbers, how many drivers they have and how many of those drivers are hazmat certified. How many office staff, is it a CFS, is it a free trade zone? Can they handle bonded cargo? Is it under their bond or someone else's bond? How do they communicate with the truckers? So all this information has been updated by the truckers, and it's all there to help you make decisions about which are the right trucking companies to use. And finally, the company tab. So the company tab shows their corporate headquarters. It'll show their SCAT code, their EIN number. It shows the different officers in the company, their email addresses and phone numbers. So all that is there available for you. Sometimes there's other documents down here like a W-9 form or a hazmat certificate. Depends on the trucking company. But you can, let's see if we can find one. Yeah, here's one that has hazmat and W-9. So those are all there for you. All of this is to reduce, we're a big industry with, thousands of freight forwarders and thousands of trucking companies, all of whom pretty much do business together, and all of whom are exchanging common information. Everybody needs a W-9. Everybody needs to see insurance certificates and so forth. So the basic idea of the Comply Directory is that instead of everyone having to chase everybody else for the same information, this is a place it can all be gathered together and make life easier for both the freight forwarder and for the trucking company, who doesn't have to provide this over and over and over again. So we're very excited about being able to help provide this to the industry. We've been doing this for about 10 years and doing it for some very large forwarders who've asked us to help them organize this information for their trucking networks. So the Comply Directory with the NCBFAA gives us a chance to sort of open this up to the industry as a whole. And we're very excited about the reception so far from members of the NCBFAA. The people are using it, they like it, and it's been very, very well received. So that's the trucker tab, and we'll take questions on that. I also want to show you something else. There's a tab here called Orders, and this is a separate function that we call remote control, and it's a way for you to be able to not just get rates, but also process orders with trucking companies all over the country. And our assumption is that this is going to be of most value when you have shipments that you have to process in ports that are not your home ports. So if you're in Milwaukee and you need to process something in Seattle or El Paso or Los Angeles, this is a way to get prices and execute orders and get back POD and get back billing automatically from just about any port in the country. So we put in a test shipment here. There'll be a list of shipments, and you click on the one you want. You will have entered, the shipper and the consignee. It tells who entered it. The pieces and weight. You can put in the dimensions, and it'll show you the volume and the density and so forth. You put in the ready time, the close time, and when you want it delivered by. And it'll automatically go out and find trucking companies. These are companies in our system. They're all listed over here in the trucker tab, who have provided rates that they're making available to the forwarding community in general through the NCBFAA functionality here. So you could book the shipment with Angels for $85, $86. These are real rates. Fast trucking for $99 and so forth. You can also get LTL rates. Because I put in dimensions, it calculated an estimated freight class, looking at the density of the shipment. If you don't put in dimensions, you'll have to choose a freight class. But it'll go out now and it's going to find LTL truckers who would also be able to handle the shipment. So while this is a local pickup, obviously in Los Angeles, many times you have to deal with things that are maybe from Los Angeles going to Arizona or Colorado. And it'll come back and it'll show you rates from multiple LTL truckers. So then to execute an order, all you'd have to do is make your selection, and you can select one trucker or more than one trucker. Select those two. Click on the dispatch button, and you can confirm the ready and close times, the deliver by times. And if I click submit, I'm not going to do it here, but if I did, it would actually communicate with those truckers by email or by EDI if they're hooked into our system by EDI. and the trucker would have as much time as you select to accept that order. If you click more than one trucker, the first one that accepts it gets it. If you click just one trucker, it's up to that trucker to accept it. So again, I'm not going to execute this order because it's a live system. But what would happen is the trucker gets an email or an EDI message. He accepts the order in our system. When they do that, you're going to get an email confirming the booking, that your shipment number test file has been booked to, let's say, Fast Trucking for $99.04. And the trucker gets an email confirming the booking to him and sending him an EDI message, if he's EDI, to execute the order. The trucker executes the order. He may put in times that he picked it up and so forth. He will have to put in a POD in order to get paid. When he puts in the POD, you're going to get an automated email that says, okay, your shipment test file 1 has been delivered to Anywhere Forwarding at 8:15 on the 2nd. So you have a written automated POD email. And then finally, when the trucker puts in his billing, you're going to get an email that gives you an invoice. And the invoice is actually payable to our remote control company. So you pay remote control the $99.04, and remote control pays the trucker. So one of the advantages of that is that if you use the system for multiple truckers around the country, which is the way most people use it, you don't have to set up new payables. You don't have to fill out credit apps and so forth with multiple trucking companies and wait for them to credit approve you. Your financial dealings on a third-party bill basis are only with remote control, and remote control pays the truckers. So that's the Orders tab. You have the Truckers tab for compliance purposes, and you have the Orders tab to be able to execute orders. And again, you can find, if we look up Angels here, you'll be able to see all their information over here and be able to, feel comfortable working with that trucker, see what they have on file and so forth. So that concludes the demo. I guess it's time to go to questions and answers.
Yes, at this time, we'd like to open up the Q&A session. If you have a question, please be sure to enter it into the designated question box, and we'll answer the questions as we read them. The first question that I have is, what happens if the insurance coverage is canceled mid-term? Are those changes reflected in the system?
We do our best to reflect that if we are notified. The one problem is that an insurance certificate is never a guarantee that coverage will be continued, nor is it a guarantee that you'll be notified if it isn't, but it's a request to be notified. So most of the certificates list remote control or XWorks as the certificate holder. And in those cases, when if insurance is canceled and when they mail a updated certificate to us, we do go in and we'll cancel that policy to show it's no longer effective. And the government tries to do the same thing. But if anyone tells you that they have a surefire 100% way, unless they're calling every insurance company every day, I don't think there's any guaranteed way that we know of to absolutely ensure that a certificate is still valid.
Thank you for that. The next question is, how would one find a trucker that goes into Canada or Mexico?
The system currently is set up just for continental U.S. We do have a few truckers in here who will handle shipments to Mexico and Canada, but we don't yet carry rates into those areas. That's something that will probably be in effect in the next year, but that isn't currently part of the system.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, anything in the system, whether a trucker is CT-PAT certified or meets the CT-PAT security criteria?
There's a couple of things that you can check. On the policy checklist, and the first two questions relate to CT-PAT. Is the trucker themselves CT-PAT certified, and do they maintain the CT-PAT compliance supply chain security program? So you have that information. Some of the truckers do submit CT-PAT documentation, which would be under the company tab. So you may find that. But in general, most of them don't have that document. If that's something of special interest to the NCBFAA members, and I think it is, it's something that we could perhaps become more aggressive with in terms of the CTPAT documentation.
All right, thank you for that. The next question, can we search by type of trucker? For example, TSA approved cartage companies. Would we be able to search for those types of truckers?
Not yet, but that's coming. That's coming soon. You'll see in the list here, I've scrolled over, and we have different categories, and there'll be others that are added. And what we'll have coming probably before the end of the year is the ability to filter and say, show me any hazmat qualified trucking companies or TSA qualified trucking companies. Now, when I say qualified, I mean that they say that they provide hazmat service. They say that they're TSA qualified. They say that they can handle high-value cargo. We aren't making any judgments, but what we can do is allow you to narrow the list and just filter down and say, I want to find a hazmat trucker in Memphis, Tennessee. And it'll show you those that say that they handle hazmat, and then you can check their documentation and qualifications and see how many hazmat drivers they say they have and so forth.
The next question, how do we know who the 24-hour contact with mobile number is for IACMS? Is that listed anywhere?
Yes. Typically, you're going to see the, it's not coming up here for this one. Let's see. Well, actually, in every good demo, there's a glitch, but there is a contact name that typically comes up here with the email address. So you would know, you'd be able to email them from that. I'm going to try to find an example. Hold on for a second. Well, yeah, there's a, I'm sorry, there's a glitch in the program, but that's where that's listed. And by tomorrow, you'll be able to see that right on the tab there.
All right, thanks. You mentioned that RC handles the billing on orders. Do you have an account setup process required of the forwarders or brokers?
If, in terms of credit for the forwarders, if you're a member of the NCBFAA in good standing, we will automatically give you credit. Our terms are 30 days, so we expect you to pay within 30 days. We pay the truckers in 35 days, automatically, whether you pay us on time or not. But no, you automatically, if you're a member of the NCBFAA, we consider you a serious committed forwarder, and there is no credit process that you need to go through.
Okay. What if special services are required for cartage, such as pallet jack, liftgate, residential, etc.?
When you set up an order, this is the order entry screen, you can request different types of special handling. You can see it at the bottom of the screen here. So hazmat, bonded, temperature control, liftgate, specials, and so forth. So this is where you'd pick out, and if you wanted to, let's say, make this one hazmat, it's going to then make this a hazmat shipment. The trucker would know about that. Rates would include hazmat and be restricted to hazmat qualified trucking companies. And so that's all that is there. There's also, let me go back to the edit screen. You can also leave extensive instructions. So you can leave instructions about the pickup part of it. So, you know, ask for Shirley, whatever you want to tell them about picking it up, you know, pallet jack required, whatever. About delivery notes, you know, go to Bay 23 and ask for Sam. So all of this information, anything you put in here will be communicated to the trucking company. You can also attach documents. So if you want to put in a delivery order or any kind of release or documents at all, you can upload those here. And those, again, get communicated by our system to the freight forwarder. Just a comment about the orders tab. This, although this may look like something new and very different and kind of scary to do this electronically, just like you'd use, Expedia or something, this is actually very extensively used. We place about 4,500 orders every day with the trucking companies in the system. So Angels and Fast Trucking and Mr. Freight and Tucson Freight Connection are constantly accepting orders in our system, constantly putting in POD information and pickup information and their invoicing. So we're not bringing a new concept to hundreds of trucking companies. We're taking hundreds of trucking companies who already use our system and have used it for many years and taking it with their public rates and bringing it to the industry as a whole. So it's a well-oiled machine. I can tell you it wasn't always this way. We've built this up over 10 years. But these trucking companies know our system. They're integrated in the majority of transactions. We're actually integrated with these trucking companies by EDI. And the information flows quite smoothly.
The next question, once a request for update has been sent by a user, will it tell all users, or can each user click request update, thereby sending multiple requests to update the carrier?
It's if you click the button like I did here to prompt the trucker to update, that's an email that goes from you to the trucker with a copy to us. So it doesn't communicate with other members of the system. But we think it's an advantage if multiple people click on that button. The trucker sees, hey, Able Cargo that I'm logged in has requested it, and XYZ has requested it, and ABC has requested it. It's going to prompt them to keep their information current. So we encourage all of you to click on that button. We've been very happy that so far, as Paulette said, a large number of companies were at a webinar like this, tried the system, like it, and go into it regularly and use it. But we think not enough are pushing the prompt trucker button when things expire like they do here. So we want to encourage you, if you use the system and like it, and we hope you will, to absolutely click on that button whenever you see a red tab to encourage the trucker to keep their information current. You're all forwarders, as all of our people are. And you know as well as we do that truckers, they can be great truckers, competitive rates, and give great service. Most of them are not top-notch administrators. They don't have big secretarial staffs to keep on top of these things. So they need gentle encouragement, and we try to make it efficient for you to give that to them.
All right, the next question. Are there reports that generate on a daily basis that truckers have either checked or fallen out of compliance, or is there a manual check on a regular basis?
There isn't anything like that. We do have a service that's a paid service. We have additional services where you can take this and make it more personal to your company, where you can qualify each trucking company yourself, mark them as authorized or not authorized, say what they're qualified for your company, and also collect private documents like certificates that have your company named as the certificate holder or any other documents you want. So all that can be done through paid services that we'll be happy to talk to you about. And part of that is that you'd get an automated email every day that comes to whomever you want in your company that tells you any changes by any of your trucking companies. So if they submit new insurance certificates, that's on the email, and there's a link right to the document. If they've put in new TSA data, that comes through every day on that email. You can link over to that. If they've changed their address or their phone numbers, that's on the email. So there is a system, if you use the private services, to keep you totally informed about any changes with any of the truckers.
Thank you. The next question. What insurance compliance is required for MAP 21?
My understanding is that, well, I'm hesitant to say it. We don't pretend to be compliance experts. I think we're expert at organizing the information you need. And I don't want to answer that question incorrectly. I'm not sure that MAP 21 requires, as MAP 21, a specific amount of insurance. Our system will show you what insurance they have in place. but you should talk, I think, to your transportation attorneys to determine if there's a minimum amount that you think is necessary.
Paulette, if you're there, is there anything else that you have to add to that? Paulette?
No, I don't have anything to add. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. The next question, can you search by DOT or MC number?
No, currently you can only search by the company name or by location.
Thank you. For clarification, CBP no longer issues CTPAT certificates. Truckers could provide SBI number, although it would be up to the trade partner to monitor the CBP CTPAT portal. It's still valid and active. Is that a question you'd be able to answer, Greg?
I'm not sure what the question is.
We're going to go to the next one.
Okay.
So we would pay XWorks for the charges if we book through your system, is that correct?
That's what you pay. Technically, it's our remote control subsidiary, but yes.
Okay. Can you show an LTL rate request example?
Sure. In this shipment, this is a shipment of 1,234 pounds. It volumes, we put in dimensions of 48 by 48 by 95. So the volume weight would be 1128. It's slightly less than the actual weight. It's a density of 9.74 pounds per cubic foot. So it calculates based on that an estimated freight class based on the density relationships that most LTL carriers use. That isn't the precise way to determine freight class, but it's a help if you put in the dimensions. But you can, if you know the freight class for this particular commodity, you simply select the freight class, click Get LTL Rates, and it's going to go out and contact a broker called DRL, and DRL then gives you the available rates from the carriers that they have for that freight class for that route between those zip codes. It also shows you the carrier's transit time in days. And our goal on most shipments is to give you multiple rates. Very often you'll get 1, 2, 3, or 5, 4 or 5 pickup and delivery rates. This, by the way, this works for FCL as well. In FCL, you do it on a spot basis, but it'll show you FCL truckers. And on less than truckload or pickup and delivery, it shows you the pickup and delivery tariffs, as well as the traditional LTL carriers.
Thank you. Where do we see the latest updates showing where the cargo is located during transit?
That's going to vary by carrier. There's a in-transit tab here, and let me try to find an example I can, well, I'm not going to look for one right now, but if carriers report things like pickup, arrived at terminal, departed terminal, and so forth, in the big companies, the LTL carriers and people like Forward Air tend to provide that information in detail. It's all going to be listed under this tab. You'll see a series of messages, picked up at 14:05, arrived at terminal at 1900, and so forth. But to be honest, a lot of these little carriers don't have that kind of EDI capability. So it's mixed. If they have that information, you're going to see it here. If they don't have this information, it's going to be like any other pickup with a typical local carriage company or drayage company. However, the POD is always going to be there. And the reason is that the trucker does not get paid without a POD. That's hard and fast built into the system. And as I say, these truckers are doing over 4,000 orders a day in our system. And they're providing the POD on 4,000 orders a day, or they don't get paid. So the POD will appear, and when the POD appears here, you get an automated email. You don't have to come back and keep checking the system. It's going to come to you by email. And you'll have that. It shows, time and who signed for it, the number of pieces, and so forth. And then the invoice information will be shown here as well. But again, you'll be emailed the invoice. You'll pay that to remote control to our company.
Thank you. Does XWorks Remote Control have customer service operations to follow up on pickups or deliveries, or is this expected to be done directly with the truckers by the NCBFAA member user?
The answer is both. We don't claim to follow up on every single shipment for you. That isn't part of our service. We do, particularly when you get started, we try to make sure that trucking companies are responding to you and that there's a back and forth there. But basically, we're really something more like Expedia, if you want to look at a parallel, where we're a system to be able to communicate and pay for transportation. We're not brokers. We're not taking responsibility for whether a carrier does the job correctly or not. That communication should be between you and the carrier for the most part. But that's actually the way it is set up to be. That being said, we have a staff of about 5 people who are all from our industry and are watching things all the time. We've also, the trucking companies that appear here are sort of a subset of the companies that use XWorks for transaction with the trucking companies, and we've narrowed the list to those that we know give good service, that know how to use our system effectively, and have been effective in the past. So to answer your question, yeah, it's really up to you to communicate with the trucker with you, and our system's an intermediary. But secondly, we do very often try to help and get involved to make sure things go smoothly. We don't claim we have the answer to every transportation problem out there. There's missed pickups and other things that happen, and because it's been booked through our system, I'd like to tell you that's never going to happen, but that's not the real world.
Thanks, Greg. And this looks to be the last question. Is there possibility for the safety data to integrate with other systems?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but if you're talking about integrating data from over here into your own systems, there are ways that can be done. There would be, of course, private relationship between your company and XWorks, and we could find a way to create an API, for instance, that could give you that updated information. But that isn't part of the NCBFAA Comply Directory.
Thanks, Greg. And it looks like actually one more question just came in. Who should I contact if I would like to sign up for this service?
Well, you can simply contact support at xworksinc.com, and our support staff will handle making sure that your logins work. You can tell us what users you want to have available for the system. By the way, every user should have their own login. It'll therefore link to their email address, and when you book shipments, the information will come back automatically to them. They won't have to enter anything. So go to support at xworksinc.com and request whatever users you'd like to have in the system. Again, they're already set up if they have a login to NCBFAA, but if they don't, just let us know and we'll get them set up for you.
Thanks, Greg. And I also want to add to that, I'm sure there are a number of companies that have not had the opportunity to join the association at this point. This is a regular member benefit, so if you are in fact interested in taking part of this wonderful membership opportunity, you can reach out to us here at the membership department by contacting us via email at development@ncbfaa.org, or you may give us a call here at the office at 202-466-022. And we'd be happy to assist you with going ahead and signing up for membership so you would be able to take advantage of this relatively quickly.
That's right, and just I'll throw in a kicker here. We do offer this service if you're not part of NCBFAA, but I think our charge for it is typically more than it costs to join the NCBFAA. So it's many companies pay quite a bit more who aren't members of the NCBFAA to get the same data and information that you would get for free as a member.
Great point, Greg. Thank you. Did you have anything else that you wanted to cover, Greg, before we conclude for today?
No, we're very excited to have this opportunity to reach the membership of the NCBFAA. We really encourage you to log in and poke around and see what you find. Feel free to email us or call us if you have any questions. We have a very active support staff who will respond very quickly. And we look forward to working with many of you, or hopefully all of you.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you to all of our participants. This concludes today's webinar. We'd like to thank you all for joining, and a special thanks to Paulette, Greg, and Tom for your time and efforts in putting together today's webinar. Certainly appreciate it here. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation, and be sure to enjoy the rest of your day. Also, I want to mention before we take off that presentation that you reviewed today will be sent out following our call shortly. That will have the presentation that you were able to take a look at today. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. And see you at the Government Affairs Conference 2015 in Washington, D.C. Thank you.